Hey everyone, it's Mojaxx back in the DJcity UK lab. Today I have a review of something a little bit different for you. It's a high-end rotary mixer, hand-built right here in the UK. Let's get to it. MasterSounds is a small company based in Leeds in the northeast of the UK. Until recently they were best known for their turntable weights and for their work restoring and adding audiophile upgrades to Technics 1200s. But late in 2016 they dropped their Radius 2, a 2-channel rotary mixer designed in conjunction with Union Audio. That's another small company at the other end of the country, run by Andy Rigby-Jones. Mixer nerds might well be familiar with that name. He was the chief designer behind iconic Allen and Heath Zone mixers like the 92 and the V6. He's also been working with Richie Hawtin on the Play Differently Model 1, which we'll be looking at soon here on the channel. The Radius 2 has done very well for the partnership. So well, in fact, that here we are a few months later looking at their second model, the Radius 4. Like the Radius 2 before it, the mixer is handmade and tested by Union Audio, with the metal body manufactured by MasterSounds. It's all made in the UK. In terms of features, it's a 4-channel rotary mixer with a high-pass filter on each channel, an assignable send and return loop, and a master EQ/isolator. It's available in black or the silver finish seen here, and comes in at a price of £1,450 sterling for this standard model they sent for review. And with the current exchange rate, you won't be paying much more than that in dollars or euros. There's also a premium version available with upgraded op amps for an even more transparent sound, and that sells for £1,600. I haven't heard that version to compare, but frankly the sound is so good on the standard model, I think you'd have to be incredibly fussy about sound to justify the upgrade. So let's talk about that sound first of all. It's impossible to give a definitive judgment on hardware like this. Every sound system and everyone's taste is different, but the Radius 4 sounded simply fantastic on every system I tried it with. To give me the best chance of putting the mixer into some kind of context, I had my rotary obsessed buddy Stephen Slater swing by the lab with his new condenser Carmen, so we could have a listening session with that, the Radius 4 and my Yuri 1620 LE. There was definitely a difference between the condenser and the Radius, which we expected as the condenser is a discrete design as opposed to the more conventional IC design used by MasterSounds. But overall it was incredibly hard to find fault with the sound of the Radius 4. The preamps are extremely high quality and the sound has all the warmth and clarity of the very best analog mixers on the market. If sound quality is important to you, the Radius 4 will not disappoint. The attention to detail doesn't end with the sound. The construction of the mixer is top notch throughout. All the pots, buttons and switches feel great, and at no point does anything seem like it's been compromised to meet a price point. Feel is very important on a rotary. They're more akin to an instrument than a regular mixer in many ways, and the Radius 4 is a hugely playable device. Connections on the mixer are fully comprehensive. Each of the 4 channels has switchable line and phono inputs, with the first 2 having mic inputs as well. The master output is on balanced XLRs of course, and there's also a pre-master record output on RCAs, as well as a booth output on balanced jacks. The send and return loop is pretty interesting. It has an individual level control on each channel, and jack connections for the aux output. This works great as a normal effects loop, although as with most effects loops it will work better with devices that can be run fully wet, rather than pioneer units like the RMX 1000, which ends up phasing slightly. The jacks for the return can also be used as an insert however. By using the correctly wired cables and switching the loop to insert mode, it lets you hook in an external processor as part of the signal chain, ideal for compressors and things like that. Queuing is well covered. You can select multiple channels at once, there's split queue, and you can queue the whole output including the isolator and FX loop when everything is deselected. The old school VU meters are a lovely touch on a mixer like this. Not only do they look the part, but they offer a very accurate visual indication of your levels. They switch to the Q signal when you're using that, back to the master when you're not, and also run in split mode when you're queuing like that. Very flexible. I also love the fact that they turn red when you hit +6 dB, a clear warning to start turning things down. It's worth noting that the meters are pre-master, so they reflect the overall signal from the channels, not the main output, as on some rotaries. The main rotary pots feel great with a totally linear fade as you would expect. Interestingly, MasterSounds have designed the pots to hit unity gain at full rotation. You're meant to tweak the input levels with the gain controls and have the pots maxed out for full volume. Some rotary heads aren't fans of having gain controls on their mixers. It's an extra thing in the signal path, but for me this setup works. It just gives you some more options. As a Yuri owner, I'm used to unity gain being around 7 or 8 on the main knobs, and by bumping up the gains a little, I can use the Radius 4 in that way with no issues. And having them on here does take a lot of guesswork out of playing different line and phono level sources and getting them all balanced. Ultimately, the functionality gained by having those controls makes them worth having on here, for me. I immediately fell in love with the high pass filters on each channel. They have a very gentle sound with minimal resonance and are just perfect for rolling off some low end as you work tracks in the mix. Frankly, I think I'd be happy with those replacing a regular 3-band EQ on most mixers. They're simple, intuitive and sound great. The Master EQ is also pretty smooth. Whilst it does function as an isolator with full kill, there isn't a lot of room to really work the pots in that New York style, which might disappoint some people. But when used just as a Master EQ, shaping the overall sound, it does the job very nicely, with cut-off points that aren't crazy aggressive. So there you go, my take on the Radius 4 from MasterSounds. You know, entering this Rotary mixer high-end market is a challenging, a brave thing to do, because Rotary people are obsessive. They are geeky as hell. And I know this because I spend a lot of time hanging around in Facebook groups with these people. And yeah, they're just super nerdy about signal path and sound quality and the way that mixers are put together and the philosophy behind them and so on. Stuff that your average DJ probably won't think twice about. But yeah, these guys and girls are deep into this stuff. And yeah, I totally respect that. But it's a hard thing to then bring them a product and say, here you go, I've made a Rotary mixer. I think though, MasterSounds have pulled it off with aplomb here. This thing has all the sort of sound quality hallmarks of the best Rotaries. It's really, really nice, warm analog sound on a good system, playing vinyl or line level sources. You feed good sound into this, you're gonna get good sound out of it. And it's got that thing which the best analog mixers have. It's all about the summing. It's where you bring in 2 channels, you've got 2 tracks in the mix together, you're gently working the Rotaries, and just the combination of the 2 tracks just kind of sings in a way that even the best digital mixers never quite pull off. There's just something unique about that analog sound. I love the high pass filters on each channel. Some real purists will be against those because they're in the signal chain. Same thing even with the gain controls. You know, some people will they want the purest signal possible. But for me, the high pass filters are just so gentle, so smooth that when you're doing those long blends, just to be able to roll off the tiniest bit of the low end on your mix in or your mix out, it just adds an extra dimension which you don't get with some other Rotaries. The isolator is definitely not a performance isolator, you know, it's a bit smoother. The layout of it doesn't let you work it in that kind of Joker or Cell way. It is more of a Master EQ for actually shaping that sound, depending on what you're playing at the time. You know, you can just give it that little bit of adjustment without going too harsh on it. Everything's covered in terms of queuing, you know, the effects send and so on. You've got your mic inputs on here. So it is a very flexible mixer, as long as you're happy with Rotary faders and no crossfader. Actually, this is a very versatile bit of kit. Price-wise, it's very affordable as Rotaries go. You know, you can certainly pay a lot more. You look at something like the Alpha mixers out of Japan, you know, talking twice the price of the MasterSounds. For me, I think the price differential between the Radius 2 and the Radius 4 is small enough that I think most people will be better off getting the 4 just in case you need those extra 2 channels. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility to work with, but this is still portable, it's still lightweight. You can easily take this around with you and replace the house mixer wherever you're playing and just drop this in instead. Yeah, overall, I've had a blast playing with the Radius 4. It's a wonderful, beautifully made, beautiful sounding piece of kit, and I really cannot recommend it enough. It is just superb. Thank you for watching today. Make sure you subscribe for all our future tips, tricks, and product reviews. I'll see you soon.